I definitely don't agree with drugs. I have seen what it does to people, and it's not something I would want to do for myself because I don't feel like I need drugs to communicate with people and have fun. There's been like a few incidents where I've like seen what happens to people, but I think generally the biggest thing is that I'm just so shocked that they don't remember anything that they've done, that they really have like a hole in their memory, like they just act so different when they're on drugs and then when they're off them. The people who use drugs who I know have just completely forgotten what they had done the night before. And that was just really scary for me to watch because they were just a completely different person and didn't even know what had happened. So the long-term effects of drugs, like people who use marijuana or something, is really bad because they can lose their memory and have trouble remembering things. And also it puts a distance between people. My friends, at least, they act more into themselves when they're using it. So they're not really, when I'm talking to them, it's like I'm swimming through water to get to them and they're not really listening to me, and it's frustrating, so I just leave them alone. So it's kind of isolating themselves when they do that. So when I was in 8th grade, I had 2 really good friends. They were my best friends. The first few weeks that I found out that they were doing really hardcore drugs, I kind of like backed off a little, and I was really kind of shocked. And I went through like a interesting phase where I had to decide like where I stood on this. And I knew where I stood. I didn't want any part of it, but I wanted to still be a part of their lives because they were really good friends of mine. We hang out all the time. So I just had to like set down my agenda and then just be really supportive of them. And I would say, like, I really don't think you should do this right now, but if you're gonna do it anyway, I still wanna be your friend. So like that's how it kind of worked out for me. But the long-term effects were that they really became really distant from me in the end, and they did really hardcore drugs. And one of them dropped out of high school. It's really sad to see because I know how bright she was, and I know how bright she still is, but how just doing drugs has really changed her life around, and she's unable to go to college and unable to use her really bright brain because she made some choices that have affected her for the rest of her life. I just say really flatly, no, I don't want to do this. And I actually get really stubborn when someone pushes me to do something I don't want to do. I get really stubborn and I'm like, no, this is not happening because I just said that. And the fact that someone's pushing me makes me even more resistant. That might not be the case for everyone, but just being firm about it really makes people back off because it's not worth it for them to push you to do something you don't want to do. It's too much energy. They just want to go have fun, so they're not going to keep pushing you once you say no. I've always had really high morals for myself, and I've always worked really hard because I have this goal of going to college. So I wasn't going to let my friends' motives influence my motives. And so I just said point blank, no, I don't want to do drugs. It's not something I want to do. And I just figured that my goals for myself are more important. And if they were my friends, then they would have to get over that and still be my friends and just let me be myself. I felt really ambivalent because I wanted to keep my friends. I didn't want them to feel like I was judging them with my response. So I just had to find a way to diplomatically say, like, for me, this is not something I want to do, but we can still be friends, kind of a thing. My friends, like, at first they asked me a few more times, and when they saw that I was set in stone in saying, no, I don't want to do drugs. I have goals. I want to go to college. I want to work in my academics. I don't want to get caught up in drugs. They definitely backed off, and they still invited me to hang out with them, and they would just be doing their thing and I would do my thing, but we could still be friends. So being assertive really worked out for me, and just like saying how I felt really worked out for me. What would I do instead of using drugs? There's lots of things you can do. I enjoy doing outside activities, like you can go canoeing, for example. You can go swimming. You can go hiking. There's a lot of outside activities, and then inside the house you can you know, go on the computer. You can play music. You can have little dance parties. I'm not sure. There's lots of things you can do with a lot of different people. And you know, talking to people isn't so bad. Sitting down and having a really great conversation isn't the end of the world. You don't always have to be doing something. You know, people always make fun of peer pressure, like, oh, peer pressure. But it actually really is there, and it's really strong. And it can even be subconscious, like pushing people to do things. Like, it's really hard when you go places and everyone's doing something. It's really hard to be that one person who's like, no, I really don't want to do this. So I feel like just in those situations, it's really hard to deal with that. But if you just keep hanging out with people and like talking to them and just like saying no and then just having fun and still hanging out with them, they're just gonna let it go and accept you for who you are, because they're, you know, at some level they might think it's cool that you're able to just be yourself no matter what everyone else is doing. They respect me for not doing drugs and everything, not you know, participating, but still hanging out. Like they know that that's me, and there's nothing they can do to stop me from being who I am. So they've just accepted it. Yeah.